Good morning, I'm Chip.
Hey, good morning, I'm Steve.
I'm Floyd.
And this is
Chip's
Garage. A couple shout outs real quick before we get started as always. I'm going to go first today.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Tara at floridacarshows.com, FLAcarshows.com, has every car show in Florida just about. Great newsletter, a bunch of very interesting stuff they send out. Check her out.
And Leadfoot City, we all can't wait.
Yeah.
Okay, they're fantastic people. We all can't wait for the races down there. Hopefully it gets going here pretty soon, which I hear.
Yeah.
And also Kelly and Nick at Nature Coast Cruising Magazine. Awesome people, awesome pictures, awesome everything.
Yeah, and they do lots of color, so it's a really good
And
magazine.
they photographed a lot of our club cars, your club cars.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, you can see the girl over there, the purple Duster's getting ready for Leadfoot City.
Okay.
So we're going completely through it and getting it ready to race, so that's exciting.
Can't wait.
But today, Steve, we're going to do a comparison on a 1933 Ford compared to a 1932 Ford. And there's some really cool differences, actually. They're not as similar as you would think.
No.
Yeah, so Floyd here, why don't you just tell us your overview of your car and what you got going on?
It's a 33 Ford Coupe. It's got a fiberglass body on it. It's pro-streeted. It has a 9-inch Ford in it, turbo 400 transmission, and a 327 Chevy engine in it.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Pro Street. To you, what does that mean? Because that means a little different to some people. What's Pro Street mean to you?
Well, the number one thing is big tires.
Yeah,
big
to
tires.
be a
You're
must.
right.
Yeah. Steamrollers.
Yeah. And then it's kind of like a race car, but for the street. So it's really an appearance. It's not a race car, but it has that race car, professional race car appearance.
Yeah, that's how I would have
That's how I,
described it.
think of it.
Yeah.
Now, he built this in the 80s, and this is 2024, and it's still up to taste. Everything's still up to taste. You, in my book, did a fantastic job. You have a crystal ball in your garage.
Right, and that's a great point.
Yeah.
It's Pro Street went away, right?
Yeah, it went away.
It was real popular.
Yeah.
Then it was like, nah.
Yeah.
Now it's back, and I agree with you. This is again, like I like it. It's old school, man. Old school hot rod.
Yeah.
So why don't you start pointing some stuff out there, guys, and let's look at the.
Can we open the hood?
Sure.
Okay. Now, you said 327, which is an older engine. They made up to, what, 69, I think. 68, 69. And it was a fantastic engine for GM. So show them down here what you have going on.
It's got the old, they call them camelback heads or fuelie heads on it. It's got a single top tunnel ram on it. It's got a Vertex magneto on it. Got an aluminum radiator. It's all set up. There's air conditioning in it, but with this motor, there was no accessory holes in the front to put the brackets for it. So they're off right now. I have another motor for this that is going to be going in at some point.
And you're talking it was all aluminum, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. It's an all aluminum Rodak block with dart heads on it, Hogan sheet metal manifold, and 200 shot of nitrous. And
You're never too old for this, Floyd, are you?
yeah, well, the motor has been built for years, and ran on the dyno, and then it's been sitting because I moved, and then I moved out to Florida. So
good.
I still have the motor.
Good.
And eventually it'll end up back in here.
We'll do another special on that.
Yeah, let's do. So let's take a look over here in comparison. So we got a 70s block, a 350 as opposed to a 327. Interesting that the American Graffiti car would have came with a Corvette 327 in it. So this has got the 4 deuces on it, right? It's got the Offenhauser intake manifold. It's got the headers that come out the side. So old school in a sense of the oil filler. And hey, real quick, a lot of people don't know these. These are actually filtered.
Yeah.
And over time, the oil blows up through here, and it's a natural. It's a natural thing. It needs to breathe, actually. But periodically, you got to clean these out with brake clean, or the oil gets saturated and starts running down your engine. You think you got an oil leak, and you really don't.
Well, they
this
didn't have a
would be
PZV system on the early ones.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Now, I'm always curious. I never asked you, but is this progressive or full-time linkage?
Full time.
So you got full-
Yep. When you pull it, everything goes.
No wonder it runs
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to look here, because you bring up an interesting point, Steve. So we took the linkage arms off the back carburetors.
Okay.
Because I was getting too much fuel at idle. And it really didn't need it, so we couldn't get the engine to run right. Now, she'll still load up just a little bit if I'm at a stoplight, but it clears out right away. But before, she would load up bad, and I never could get her to consistently run, where now she just runs right out. So on both back carburetors, we removed the linkage.
Well, you won't let me drive it. It will never load up with me driving, okay? I just want to tell you that.
Oh, if you're at a stoplight, it will. Yeah, so anyway, you see the difference between the two engines on. So let's move back to that over there.
All right. Let's look at the front ends, Floyd. You can see you were talking about the headlights, and I love that style headlight. And the grill. Check the grill and the headlights out in the front end from the 33 to 32.
Well, yeah, let's look at the 33.
These headlights are what would come on a 33, 34 truck. They call them commercial lights, as opposed to the smaller lights like are on here. Some guys had used those, or they might use the Bates lights, like they come on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And these were the reproductions of the commercial light. This is a Valley Grill. There's a company out in, I think they were in Indiana or Iowa.
Beautiful.
And this is all aluminum, and then all the bars
Oh, this is all
were
aluminum.
welded in. Yeah.
Okay.
And point out your turn signals
Yeah, down
there.
here. I was going to look down here. Here's your turn
Turn
signals.
signals we
Yeah.
put in
I like
here.
that. They're hidden, but you still see them.
Yeah. Now this is called a full fender car, right?
Yes,
Isn't that
full
what they call them?
fended,
Full
yes,
fender?
yes.
So you can see it goes here and it goes all the way back and it connects and you got your
And a
running
running
boards.
board, yep.
Yeah.
These running boards are attached to the fender. They're all one piece. Normally, they would have a break here,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah,
these
you're
are
right.
all one piece.
You're right.
Right.
So they're a little different.
Yep. Now let's look at the 32 in comparison to that. So obviously there aren't fenders on this car other than right on the wheels themselves. And these, which is a lot of people find very interesting, is the fenders turn with the wheels.
Oh, yeah.
Where there, you just have your wheels turn, right?
Yeah, this is bolted to your spindle.
Yep,
your
yep,
brake.
absolutely. Of course, the grill, and this would be a 32 grill. This is metal, and this would have been actually what a 32 grill looked like, right?
This
It is
cut
a
down.
replacement.
Yeah, it's cut down.
Exactly.
In the movie, it's the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll call it chopped, right?
Chopped.
Yeah, and you can see how the frame comes out, and something to point out, this would be considered a high boy because the body's on top of the frame.
Right.
Where with Floyd's, his body sits down over the frame, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, which would be a low boy, right? Now, of course, we got the small headlights, and the blinkers
nice,
for the
beautiful.
headlights are actually in the bottom of the headlights. So, you get the amber, you can see it in there coming through when you've got it. Now, what kind of front end do you have under that, Floyd? Do you know?
It's the spindles are Pinto spindles, so it's kind of based on a Mustang 2 front end.
Yeah.
Because Pinto and Mustang
Yeah.
pretty much close the same. And it's got a trailing rack on it. Some front ends have the rack in front of the cross member, which would be a leading rack, or they'll have a trailing rack. And this rack in here is from a Volkswagen Scirocco.
Oh,
If we look down in
And it's-
here, real
and
deep
it's-
down in there, we
works
might
good.
be
So you
able
don't
to
see
show
it, and it works real well.
viewers
Oh,
what
well, okay.
It's not power, it's just,
Yeah. Well, you don't need power on
and
this.
then you had to extend the tie rod ends and, change it over. And then being that it's a trailing rack, and normally the Pinto and Mustang 2 would have a leading rack, the arms on the spindle had to be cut off and welded on the back of
Okay.
it.
Reverse.
Spindle, right.
So again, being a pro street, this is more modern, which very Mustang 2 type front end, very, very popular
Very,
with the newer type hot rods. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
did you have something that you
No,
want to say about
it's
it?
close enough to a Mustang 2 that
Yeah.
the wheel wheel brakes for Mustang 2 bolted right on.
You could probably pretty much get a few parts here and there at a parts store.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
think.
Okay.
So let's show over here on the 32 then, we've got what's called a straight front axle. right? And go ahead, Steve, you can point out the components on it.
You know, your shock, a straight axle, these are your hairpins. So it's not independent, okay? It's just a straight axle they used for many years.
Right.
On trucks and cars, you know? And they're still using straight axle on the big trucks.
Right.
You know, it's funny how it's a 120-year-old design. You know?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I always wanted a straight front axle car.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
just thought that was one of the coolest things. Now, interesting on this has got the bias ply tires. I
Right.
went old school with the pie crust, and we'll look at the back later. But this thing, because of that design, that old school design, and the bias ply tires, boy, does it really grip. Like if you get a little rut in the road, it just sort of grabs it and does its own thing.
You're manual steering too.
Yeah, all manual steering, and you can see
You have a Vega
here.
box, isn't that correct?
Yep,
Right
look
here,
here.
down here, Vega
Yep,
box.
so it comes from here, and right there.
You know, he says he has a Scirocco, which I haven't heard really. And you have a Vega, but so when people are putting something together, you just go on the internet, look around, and there's so much stuff that can be retrofitted. Isn't that right? On these cars.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back to the 33.
Oh, you want to check the doors out, Floyd?
Oh, man.
I don't know how to open this door, Floyd. Is it back here? The handle back here? No, what are these? These are Suicide, is that correct?
Yes.
And why was the name of Suicide?
Because if the door opens up, you're liable to fall out.
Yeah, a lot of people,
It's around here somewhere.
somewhere, I don't want to see you crawl through the window, get in your car.
There
you
we
know?
go.
That's the suicide door. See, people would fall out. Hit a
Well,
bump.
one thing I also heard, you know, because of the, you know, it goes this way instead of that way. So I heard there was problems, people, you know, actually hitting them this way, right? Because instead of the door going that way, it comes out and stays, where a normal door sort of naturally closes.
Right, right.
So I heard there was a lot of problems there too.
If you
while
try to
they're
get
on
on
the
your
suicide.
two-post lift,
Exactly.
it'd rip that right off. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot, you know?
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about the running boards, how beautiful they are, but tell about the car shows, what people do to these running boards trying to get in, or just step on it.
You know, you got, if you go to a car show and it's car people, it's not the same as it is if you do one like in a local town in the middle of the town and you have people walking by. So you'll get a father that'll be looking in the car like this and loving it. And of course the young kid, which we promote that the you know, the kids get into it. But next thing you know, there's two little footprints on the running board.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Want to tell us a little bit more about your inside?
yeah, the inside, these seats came from a Mitsubishi Stereo,
Wow.
and then they were cut down,
Nice.
and they have, for the back of your legs, these move up and down.
yeah. That's nice. for
It's nice to
cruising.
sit
And
on
the
the back
electronic
there.
dash.
Digital dashboard in it.
Okay. What is it, vintage air or something like that?
It's got vintage air in it.
Okay.
The steering column, somebody that I knew that worked in Grumman as a machinist, machined that steering column out of a bar of aluminum.
Oh my.
Wow.
It's not a I did it column. It's
Yeah.
not a
Beautiful.
flaming ribbon column.
You
But
know,
he
you have some
machined-
pretty nice friends.
And he machined that for me. And then these vents in the dashboard on the top of the defroster, I designed those for to blow onto the windshield, and I told them I wanted something that had the holes were on an angle. They had to be on an angle to shoot this way and that way, but also had to shoot that way. And this guy machined those for me. And then when he gave them to me, I thought it was pretty interesting that he flipped it over and he said, you see where I machined this relief along the edge? He said, so when you screw them down, and it won't squeeze the paint out.
Oh, that's good.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that guy was amazing. It was a guy,
Yeah.
and I don't think he's doing it anymore. I think he's like,
Oops, sorry.
Sorry.
I don't know, working on houses or something.
Let's compare this to the 32.
Okay.
Now, one thing you'll notice on the bodies just overall, look how much more streamlined the 33 is than the 32. The 32 is much boxier. This is chopped. That's chopped, right? How many inches you got off that, do you know?
I think it was like 3 inches or so.
Three and a half,
Yeah, yeah.
Something like that.
And you said it was a Downs body, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and this
So
is
I didn't chop it. It was done by the manufacturer.
This is a 2.5 inch chop, but still, if you look at it, it's much more streamlined than the 32. The
Right.
32 looks a little more like the Stagecoach, which is what they all came off of.
That and the 32, and before that, like the 30, 31, you know, they're getting better and better and better in styling.
Right. Now you did say, Floyd, that you always wanted a 32, and that's what you were going to do.
That's what I was going to do since I was this high. It was 32 Ford, the Beach
Yeah.
Boys car, and some of the big kids in the neighborhood had cars like that, and I was always looking at them, and I always wanted a 32 Ford Coupe.
Right.
And then when it came, that's what I was going to order, and when it came right down to it, I liked the 33, and I said, I'm going to do the 33. It may have been the ZZ Top thing, or maybe I saw one at the time, I don't recall, but
Right.
I ended up with this. But
Yeah,
that was
now-
always my love, the 32.
I'll point out, this is a 3-window, so you've got one window on the side, a bigger window, and then you got a window in the back, of course, window on their side, representing the 3.
And the window in the back is power.
Oh, is it? I
Yes,
didn't know
right
that.
here. This right here. I'll point it
Okay.
out. This is power. That's nice. Gets a nice airflow, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep comparing here,
All right.
guys. Get too far off. So this is a 5-window on the 32, so you got 2 on either side, and you got the back one, which is not power, right? So
But
let's look.
Can I say something though?
Yeah.
On the 32 Ford, they did have an option where they rolled it down on an original car. They had a back window
Oh, did
rolled down.
they?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Let's compare the inside before we get too far off. So I did get a picture recently from Paul Lamette
Did you?
of the original car on the inside. An original car was an original steel body 32, and the inside was pretty much original.
Yeah,
Pretty
okay.
much. They changed a few things out. But you'll see I got a tilt steering wheel. I did it steering wheel. You can see the cluster package. I got electric windows in here. You can see we went with the small bench seat, which this flips up and has storage underneath it. Again, you can see all the things I did for American Graffiti, like the Kennedy campaign button. I've got the piston shifter knob. I even got the tickets in the door on the far side. And of course, this is a 4-speed with an M21, Muncie M21. And so quite a bit different on the inside. Again, his is a lot more custom than mine, really. You know, and this, of course, is fashioned after the movie car. Here's your opener for the door. And
Beautiful.
it's got electric windows. So let's go back to the 33.
All right.
What do you got over here, Steve?
The backs are so different. You know, he has a full frame. It comes back here. Where's your gas tank?
It's in the trunk.
It's in the trunk. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. As originally, it would be under here. Is that under the splash pan in the back? Would it be? Because his was under here.
A
originally.
32, it's usually under here.
Right.
The 33, I'm not sure, to tell you the
I
truth,
think it was, yeah.
where it was originally.
But you, for custom, you put it in the trunk.
Yeah,
Okay. Is that a power trunk?
yeah.
Power trunk? Wow. That's very nice. What else can you tell us about? You see the big, I call them old steamrollers, but the tires.
Yeah, these are 21 and a half by 33 by 15, the tires.
Wow.
And
And tell us about the rear end. And let's get the
Yeah, that's a
viewers
good story about
good
this.
look under here of everything we got. But go ahead and tell us all about it there, Floyd.
it's a 9-inch Ford rear, Curry housing. It's narrowed, and it's got a 4-link suspension in there with coilovers. That looks like a
Quick
It looks
change.
like a Grand National quick change rear,
yeah.
but it's a cover that wraps all around the whole 9-inch Ford rear.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's
Do you worry about heat with that or anything? Or?
No, I've never had a problem with it. This car, I lived on Long Island, and we used to drive it all over the East Coast. I've been up into Canada with this car.
Really?
I have a little trailer. There's a hitch. There's a square piece of tubing goes up, and you pin it, and then it drops down, goes into round tube, and then has the trailer hitch ball on it, and the harness is under there to plug in. I have a little trailer that looks like this car.
Oh, that is nice.
And I pulled that, and I've been up into Canada, out to York, Pennsylvania, at least a half a dozen times.
It runs nice,
Massachusetts,
huh? It runs
Rhode
nice
Island.
down the road.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
point.
it
Let's
doesn't
point out,
ride nice.
Oh, no, choppy? Okay.
Let's point out the tail lights
lights.
here and the blinkers, and look again at how much curvature and everything that this has, including back into the back panel here.
Yeah.
And I want to open the trunk up on that once we look at the 32. But let's look at the 32 in comparison to this now. So again, you can see from the back, it's even more apparent
Yeah.
how squared out the 32 is compared to how that is. And I noticed, of course, no rear bumper on yours. This would have been a custom bumper that was made for the movie. Again, it's movie-like. A Ford 9-inch, and you can see the difference. He's got his cover on it. I got the coilovers and the Ford 9-inch, and then I basically got what's called traction bars right in there, right? It's sort of a mix between traction bars and a 4-link, but it's not really a 4-link. And it runs pretty, I don't want to say rough, but you can feel everything. And of course on the wheels, right, we went with the old school, and these are gum dipped Firestone, and these are the old cheater slicks with the pie crust running around them. And of course I got the chrome wheel reverse.
Right.
So again, quite a difference.
To make it street legal, you had to have 2 grooves.
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
and they're DOT approved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not in the rain.
Yeah, we talked about never want to drive it. So let's look at your trunk, inside your trunk real quick, if you'll open that up.
The 33 is no better in the rain, believe me. That's it. It wants to go straight, and it wants it to
Is
be
this your
dry.
antenna? Okay.
Yeah, that's
see
an antenna.
It's concealed. You can barely see. I just caught it, and it's pretty cool because it's kind of just not there.
There's no radio in it. That's for a CB
Okay, see
that we used to communicate, with other club members when we traveled.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that, Chip.
I actually think I got more room than he does. I do, which
I think so.
I don't have much room, but go ahead and point out what you got going on here.
Yeah, I got a power trunk, used a power door lock motor, power door window motor rather.
I see that.
And this was fabricated out of aluminum and then polished. There's not much trunk because these are the wheel tubs for the tires, so it doesn't, there's not a lot of trunk left.
How many gallon?
That's almost 20 gallons. It's like
Really?
19 and a little, maybe.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good. It goes back further than you see it.
Okay. Because stock's like 10 or 11.
It goes back under here.
Is this a toolkit?
Yeah, I've got some tools in here and test light and
Yeah.
a couple of little parts and pieces and things
It's always good
that
to
I
have.
like to keep a little bit of everything in there.
Yeah, again, we always
in
point
case.
that out on these. He's got a fire extinguisher inside, and he's got his little toolkit, always good to do on the hot rods. You're always doing a little something, and you don't want to get stranded.
This is my auxiliary gas gauge. That's a half a tank right there.
All right.
There you go.
Hey, it works.
So let's look here, and of course I've got an automatic. Now these are just shocks on it, but I do have an automatic clicker to open
really?
the trunk. It doesn't shut with it. I have to shut it manually.
Okay.
Now here's my fuel tank, runs this way, which is similar to what would have been back here, as you guys were discussing earlier. Simmer, same idea. It runs runs horizontally, if you will. Now this is only a 15-gallon tank. Now I do have my fire extinguisher here, and then here's my battery. Where's your battery on that, Floyd?
The battery is underneath. It's in a box that was
Gotcha.
fabricated, and it's mounted. It's a Optima battery. It's mounted on its side,
Okay.
and then it's got a hinge so you can swing it down
Oh, that's a great idea.
to work on it. But this way it was tucked up. I wanted it up under the frame. You don't want stuff sticking down below the frame rails.
Right,
That's a nice idea.
Floyd pointed this out earlier, if we can show the viewers, of make sure you're sealed on your gas cap, especially on these, because your gas is in your trunk. And another thing, I don't know about you, when I fill it up, I always let it air out for about 2 or 3 minutes
That's
before
smart.
I shut the trunk.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I
a
get
good idea.
major fumes,
Yeah.
even though it's sealed.
Hey, you could catch a spark.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you got your battery here. Oh, and let's show the viewers this. That's the reason I have a battery cover. So my battery cover, and this is your exhaust, if you will, for the battery. But the battery cover is so I don't get sparks off the battery.
I thought that's where you kept your money.
Yeah, that's where I keep all kinds of scary stuff. Yeah. So now you can notice my tail lights and they are LED, and these you told me
I think
before.
44.
I think 44. Yeah.
I think
Now
so.
again, this bumper bar I had to have custom made.
That
Yeah.
came out beautiful.
Yeah, it really
It
did.
really made the back of the car.
Yeah,
And
so-
the license plate.
Yeah, yeah. Of
You were
course.
saying you're lucky. You couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe I got Milner one. That somebody
Wow.
after all,
Yeah.
and I just got
That's
that
cool.
this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
This year. Well, anyway, recently I just got that. So as long as I hang on to it, I'll be able to keep Milner one on this.
Yeah,
So.
that's great.
All right, let's move over there again.
Wow. You know, it's amazing at a comparison on each one.
Yeah,
You know, his exhaust comes out the back, whereas yours comes off the side.
that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Both dual.
Yeah, mine are sprint car headers, and
Yep,
you got
yep.
dual coming out the back, which
And
I
it
love.
sounds like a sprint car.
It does sound like a sprint car. Matter of fact, when we get to the end, let's just
Yeah,
crank
let's
them
start them
both
up.
up.
Crank
and-
them up a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And you were saying about the wheels here now, are the welds?
Yeah, these are the Weld, what are they, Ultra Lite or something?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I used to run these on the Duster Racing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a story behind that about how you set the rear end up you were talking to me about, huh?
Yeah, when you set the rear end up, what you want to do is you want to mount the tires on the wheels and put them under the car. I'm sure there's other ways of doing it, but put the wheels underneath the car where you want them, and then you measure the distance between them, and that's where you want your ends of your axles to mount. And I needed these wheels to get it set up, and this car was a work in progress for many years.
Yeah.
And I was doing a chassis for a Vega wagon, a friend of mine, race car. And he used to come to the house and I'd do some work on his car. And one day he showed up with those wheels. And he said, "These are for you." So that's
He
where
does
those
have good
wheels
friends.
came
I do. I mean, the intake, the wheels, a couple other things.
from. We help each other out, and
I
I
know.
guess that was
We
his
do
way
that
of helping me out.
Yeah, of course.
No, that's and it just fit perfect. You
Yeah.
got it fit perfect.
And again, like you said,
Yeah, well, we
that's
cut
you
the
had- yeah, you had to
rear
work on it.
match.
that's pro street. You know, you got to have those big fat tires. Again, I went old school and more towards the movie of what they would have had those cheater slicks. So
What's nice, both stances on both vehicles are perfect to me.
yeah,
Both
yeah, they
perfect.
do.
I like them.
Yeah. Well, with the chop and everything, I mean, you know, and again, you know, we talk about this do it to taste, right? How you did. Now, you said this took 3 or 4 years to build, right, in the 80s?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
small
it's
garage.
time, it's
small
money.
garage in there.
Well, I extended that too. I don't leave much of it alone. So I had to modify the garage.
Yeah. Now, will you ever sell this car?
No,
Yeah.
Good.
no. People actually before it was even finished. The guy, we were in Rhinebeck, New York. That was the first show that I went to with it, and there was a guy that sent his, I don't know, his representative or something into a restaurant and across the street from the fairgrounds, and asking everybody at every table who owned the car, and he wanted to buy the car, and I wouldn't sell it. And he said, "Well, I really wants the car. My guy or my man, whatever he said,
yeah.
really wants this car." He goes, and I said, "Well, that's not for sale."
Yeah.
So I didn't want to sell it. And then I've had people want to buy it, and it's a hard one to sell it. You know,
Right.
a lot of work went into it, and
Blood,
Yeah.
sweat, and tears.
yeah, it's just like yours. You know, it's
I get people offer me all the time, name your price.
Yeah.
They tell me, name your price,
Yeah.
but I'll never sell it.
no.
And
I'll
your
never
story
sell
is
it.
a sheriff come running after you one day.
Yeah.
Thought you were going to get in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He came pulling up on us real quick at a show. I mean, like he was coming up to arrest us like fast. And he jumps out of the car and like comes at me aggressively, but he was
Yeah.
so excited about the car.
Some people may not understand, but we're a little bit different breed. It's
Yes.
like, you know, we love this stuff. We like it. It's like part of us. You love that car. It's a gorgeous car, and everybody's got their own way that, you know, they like it. It's all good. Every one of these cars is absolutely beautiful.
And unique to themselves. you know.
Right.
And it's really not about the money, right?
No.
It's really not.
No.
Not if you love them like you're talking about. And you're right. A lot of people don't understand that love affair.
And we love them all. We love the rat rods. We love the regular cars. We love them all.
Hey, here's
I don't
one,
care
guys.
what it is.
How many times have you done this? Good girl.
Yeah.
How
Man,
many
a
times?
little,
Oh yeah. How you doing,
You know,
baby?
I gotta say the body, it fits beautiful. The door lines.
Yeah, it
it's
really
not
does.
bowed,
If
it's
you
not-
look at the gaps.
The gaps are really nice on this. I'm really impressed with it. I'm really impressed.
Well,
You know, there was a lot of work. Like I said, I had to bring it back for reasons. You know, also these fenders and running boards are all one piece, but they were like 2 inches too short.
Oh, really?
So they had to be extended and fixed. You know, just a lot of things. When the earlier cars, now a lot of that stuff has been refined. You know, with CNC and stuff
Yeah.
like that, like the
Yeah.
machine work that was done with this. This was done on a lathe with a little crank handle.
Right.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
wasn't CNC stuff.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
where there's a program that it follows. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of love.
Well, we're running out of time. Why don't you go ahead and start yours up?
Okay, I want to leave it one thing. If somebody can't, is not a craftsman and doesn't want to build it and take 3 or 4 or 5 years, try to find one either 2/3 complete or something complete. That's
a good point.
And get it and enjoy it.
Yep, it's a good point. It's actually cheaper to buy one done than it is to build one.
Unless you're a craftsman and you got some
Still,
time on your hands.
in today's
I know.
world, it's
a lot of
still-
work.
It's still expensive too.
Yeah.
I always say buy it as much complete as you can
Exactly.
afford.
Right.
And then, you know, you have friends, like you heard some
Yeah.
friends did things for me, and they, you know, and I
Why don't you
helped
go ahead
them
and
out.
start it for us?
We help each other out.
That's right. Well, and that makes a huge difference, money-wise and time-wise.
Sure.
So-
This sounds so nice.
The black paint looks really
Oh,
good.
it's
It's getting me
beautiful.
excited.
How old is it, Floyd, the black paint?
It's only been painted that one time. I touched up a little. I moved the steering column over, so I painted a little on the firewall, but it's the original paint from
the 80s.
the 80s. Yeah,
Wow.
Nice.
it's a urethane.
Yeah. It's getting me excited about my
I was still
56
painting
paint.
lacquer, and they came out with this with the urethane.
Urethane,
Yeah.
It's other than Imron.
Okay.
There we go. Typical hot rod.
I gotta go back. I gotta go back.
Yeah, you can tell the camp. Yeah. I love how smooth it is back here. Whoa. That sounds.
Oh my God.
That
I'm in
sounds
heaven.
really good for a 327.
I'm in heaven.
Well, 327's a really cool
Yeah,
motor,
they're
and you
good
can
motors.
wind them suckers up. What do you shift that on that?
I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't beat it up at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Never did.
Well, that's why it's lasted so
Otherwise,
long,
yeah,
right?
it wouldn't.
You know?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be here. I might not be here.
I take mine to the limit sometimes.
Yeah.
Listen, now wait till you hear this. Oh my God.
Gotta love that thump, right?
Hey. That nice.
Where'd you get those mufflers from?
Yeah,
They sound good.
Yeah. They do have, what do you call them you put in?
Baffles.
Baffles, yeah.
Yeah, right.
They do have
sure,
Well, no, they have baffles
Okay, yeah, sure.
that you can put in there.
Yeah.
I actually have them over on the shelf.
Well, you had them in there when you bought it.
Yeah. Well, when I bought it, of course, you know we had to go
Yeah,
through everything,
yeah.
but they were worn out completely and they were rattling in there. So I bought a new pair, and then when I put them in, it quieted it down way too much. And so I decided to go this route, and I've never had a problem. Never had a
Sounds
cop.
good. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and I pulled it right up beside cops on the road, and never had an issue.
With these two, you get standing ovations.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
these two cars.
Yeah. Well, guys, two beautiful cars. Big difference between a 33 and a 32. A movie-style car and a pro street. Build it to taste.
Yes, build
right?
it,
You got anything to close with?
No, I love it. It's it. I have nothing else to say.
Well, I'm Chip,
I'm Steve.
I'm Floyd.
and this is
Chip's
Chip's
Garage.
See you, buddy. Beautiful car, man.